Welcome to a special edition of ePlus TV's eForum. I'm your host Ansel Harris from GT Network, and we're in Trinidad with the Valkyries of Arcadia while they promote the Inter-Caribbean Anime Convention Tourism Project. What is the Inter-Caribbean Anime Convention Tourism Project?
The Inter-Caribbean Anime Convention Tourism Project is an initiative created by the Valkyries of Arcadia. It helps to help build an infrastructure for the modern pop entertainment industry, but not only that, but it helps to also develop the micro industries, not only in Jamaica, but also throughout the Caribbean. It enhances tourism, it develops business networks, it promotes economic growth, and it also encourages creative collaboration.
Why choose anime conventions as the focal point to launch the tourism project?
Well, anime conventions are essentially the hub for industry and communities to connect, and multiple businesses, large and smaller, both collaborate in that space, which also encourages the development of the micro industries. Anime conventions facilitate not only the small businesses like Products of Jamaica Magazine, LOL Snackstop, but it also incorporates larger businesses like AnimeCom Fest partnering with Burger King for their food court this year. And also, an example in the Caribbean would be Seishonen from Guyana partnering with Caribbean Airlines for their transportation of their representative for the Caribbean Cosplay Championships. Anime conventions on a whole garner over thousands of patrons every year. And to integrate or for these conventions to work together across the region, instead of singular islands, we can incorporate over 44 million people across the region.
With this being your second annual tour, what companies have the Valkyries collaborated with so far to push this initiative forward?
One of our biggest helps, one of the biggest companies that we've interacted with and collaborated with to make this tour happen is LOL Snackstop. It is a leading confectionery distributor that has a storefront conveniently right in the heart of Kingston, Jamaica, which is where majority of these anime conventions and events are around. And they have started from just being, a regular leading confectionery store to directly interacting with the anime and cosplay scene, to coming to the different anime and cosplay events, interacting with us, offering their storefront to be a ticket outlet for these events, and coming to those same events, offering their products and establishing that relationship. So that is now a household name in the scene for us.
Another entity that we have collaborated with and continue to work with for many years is AnimeCom Fest. We came in as their presenting sponsors back in 2022, and for 2025 this year, we are their media ambassadors and community partners. What that means is we're going to continue to push AnimeCom Fest brand and highlight the different work, the types of work that they do for the industry. Not only is AnimeCom Fest a hub for cosplay and everything creative, but we're also pushing the industries themselves, the businesses that choose to partake and work with AnimeCom Fest, to choose to vend at AnimeCom Fest, or also the film and animation industry. So not only is AnimeCom Fest the leading anime convention in Jamaica and hopefully the region one day, the entity is pushing for greater integration for revolutionization of the industry.
Another key business that has helped make this tour happen is Product of Jamaica Magazine. It's an international media and print magazine that has been going for over a decade. It has covered different aspects of Jamaican culture that's not readily commercialized. And after interacting with the Jamaican cosplay scene, They literally made Jamaica's first cosplay edition. And after going to Barbados and seeing what their cosplay scene is like, he came up with another edition featuring the Bajan cosplay scene. Of course, he now has plans to expand throughout the Caribbean and see how each island has their take on cosplay.
What other countries are on your radar for this region to bring the ICAC project to?
For me, I've always heard of St. Martin's cosplay scene. I've seen a few pics on Facebook, and I'm really curious not only to experience their culture, but to how they take on cosplay and anime conventions. So I'm curious about that island.
For me personally, I'm thinking Guyana, specifically Fumacan, put on by Seishonen. I've been seeing a lot of development there, and of course, they have a representative here in Trinidad to compete for the Caribbean Cosplay Championships. So I'm looking forward to, linking up with them and seeing where the tour can take us next time.
What has been the most resourceful tool or strategy that you have used to execute the ICAC project?
One of the most useful tools in general is media. You need media, whether it be social media or legacy media like television. You can't just use one. You need to use both, and every access that you have an access to, you need to use it. We have been on several radio stations in Jamaica, several television shows to not only talk about what the Valkyries have done or what we plan to do, but to bring up the scene as well. Because as you know, in the Caribbean, we are known for our culture, and that's about it. So, so to bring forth a new set of entertainment, modern pop entertainment, it's refreshing. And after all the interviews we have done, we always get the wow, we have never heard of this. Where can we find out more? So media is not only a great tool to promote, but to actually document what you have done in the past, and you can grow and see your growth from there.
To add on to that, actually, in order to grow an industry, especially one that is not well developed in this region, people need to know about it. You can't do something in the dark and expect anybody to know about it. You can make a great piece of art, you can have a great business, but you still have to put it out there in order for people to see it, to want to participate, for people to want to buy into it. So this tour, basically using media is the key to bringing eyes onto the industry and also to develop the industry on a whole. Because how are corporate entities, how are the governments supposed to know that we are getting this done or that anybody is doing anything in this industry if it's not documented and put out there?
What are some TV stations that you guys have been featured on or collaborated?
The first one we started with was the Lab Video Game TV. That is the Caribbean's first and largest video game television show, servicing 25 countries in the Caribbean. So it is huge. We started as the hosts, and what they have done is not only cover different video games from the indies to the well-known ones, but they've also come into the anime scene and covered different aspects. So that I would think is Jamaica's first look into the scene overall, and started with them. Continuing, we went with the release. That was when the scene was, basically in the media. They have covered different things that the Valkyries have done and things that has happened in the scene. Fast forward to now, our home is with ePlus TV, and they have took it upon themselves to cover what is happening now, pretty much. They've said that what's happening now in television, it's cool and all, but they want a fresh set of eyes, and that comes from the youth, of course. So that is now where we are.
And other TV stations to consider are, of course, one of Jamaica's longest running television stations, TVJ, as well as TTT, now that we've come to Trinidad. And of course, we now have our partnership with GT Network. We also have CBX, which is Caribbean Business Exchange. We were featured there for the Fenty launch, as well as a dedicated feature for VOA and AnimeCom Fest. What's another one we got now?
We also got Morning Barbados. Yes,
Yes.
them last year when we had the first stage on the Foreign to Caribbean Anime Convention Tour. We went to Barbados for AnimeCon Expo, and the host was lovely. She's also into anime. She's like, "Oh, you're guys gonna see me there." So we're like, "Okay, girl, we'll see you there." So that's another home for the Valkyries as well.
I notice you haven't mentioned any tourism organizations that support this initiative. What is the reason for that?
Right, so the VOA I.C.A.C.T project is currently an independent, crowd-funded project. We have support not only from our supporters on the internet, but also some of the businesses that we mentioned earlier. Currently, the project is not funded by the tourism industry. However, a couple businesses such as AnimeCom Fest that was mentioned earlier are supported by the tourism industry. So the seat itself is known by the tourism industry and supported in different ways, but this project specifically is an independent one.
Largely, the tourism sector does not know about this initiative specifically. This is why we work with key stakeholders in the region that align with this initiative. We can eventually gain not only a dialogue but resources from these stakeholders, especially with this being our second staging of the I.C.A.C.T. We're able to do so much more, not just for Jamaica, but for the entire region.
What does the end goal look like for ICAC? And if it's annual, how many more years will it continue?
The end goal for the I.C.A.C.T. is for not only the respective anime conventions in the regions to grow, but to build a network between those conventions and the businesses that get involved with them so we can grow on a regional level. I see or different airlines getting involved. I see the different entertainment outside of the anime in anime scene getting involved, and we can get this as big as a carnival where people can travel, and it's just as normal as it's done abroad.
Carnival is actually a great example of this project being a proven model for success. In the United States, people travel across the states for multiple conventions, whether it's San Diego Comic Con or New York's Comic Con. And in the case of the Caribbean, we already have multiple carnival type events happening throughout the region at different times. It's a seasonal thing, and people travel for those reasons. And seeing as the tourism industry backs AnimeCom Fest, the model is already there to take it a step further and hopefully support our project.
Well, thank you, ladies, for this wonderful sit down on ePlus TV's eForum. I'm your host, Ansel Harris from GT Network, and it's been an honor and a privilege to actually sit down with these ladies and just learn and see the vision being, brought before us. I wish you guys all the best in the future, and I wish you guys to succeed in bringing entertainment, pop culture to the entire Caribbean.